Welcome back. Let's continue with our lecture on general theory of relativity. In the last video, we have seen that the two freely falling observers in the gravitational field would be attracted to each other. It is a time to make that idea very precise. So we have seen that the local inertial frame can completely remove the gravity. Suitably accelerated frame would be able to remove the gravity in a small region. When we have two observers freely falling under gravity, we have seen that the presence of gravity can be distinguished with the two observers. If two observers are not moving with respect to each other, or their relative velocity is zero with respect to each other, then we can conclude that that is an inertial frame. However, in presence of gravity, we see that the two observer would be coming closer or going away. Their distance would be changing based on the gravitational field in which they are moving. Now, it is important to see that it is the only acceleration between them, or the connecting vector between them, which is represents the presence of curvature. And if the two observers are moving uniformly with respect to each other, then again this doesn't implies the presence of gravity. So let's make it more precise by doing what is called the equation of geodesic deviation, which can be directly connected to the Riemann tensor, and that is in fact tells us presence of curvature using two observer who are freely falling or moving along geodesy. Topic of today's lecture is a geodesic deviation equation. Is a part of course PH4205 at IISER Calc. Before going into geodesic deviation equation, let's see some of contracted tensors of Riemann tensor. Riemann tensor is a fourth rank tensor RABCD, which has a lot of symmetries which we have seen. So one way to construct interesting tensor out of this is by contracting. Of course, you cannot contract between indices A and B or C and D because of the antisymmetric nature of them. That would simply give us 0. Now we can always contract between the indices B and D or A and C, which is the same because of the symmetry property again. So we construct a second rank tensor which is called the Ricci tensor by contracting two indices of Riemann tensor to produce the second rank Ricci tensor, which is defined as a RAC is equal to GBD. That means we are contracting between the index B and D. So RABCD. So this gives the Ricci tensor. By simply looking at it, we can make out that the Ricci tensor is a symmetric tensor, and that would have a n into n plus 1 by 2 component in an n-dimensional Riemann space. Now we can further contract. Ricci tensor is second rank tensor, and which can contract further multiplying by GAB to make it a simply scalar, which is called the Ricci scalar. Ricci scalar is defined as R is equal to GAB into RAB. So this gives rise to a scalar which is called the scalar curvature, and that is what we see. You can compute it for the sphere by contracting Riemann tensor, which we have already got, to Ricci tensor and to Riemann curvature or curvature scalar. The curvature scalar would be constant for sphere. Of course, let us get back to our geodesic deviation equation, which essentially gives the flavor of Riemannian geometry, that the geodesics are basically accelerated with each other in the Riemann space. Let's consider a curve gamma of S, which is parameterized by arc length S. Then we have its coordinate is given by x of a is equal to x of a s. So this essentially is parameterized by arc length S. And we can define the tangent vector, which we call the velocity, which is given as UA is equal to dA by ds. This is a standard velocity. If we use arc length parameter, this would have a constant. So this is a curve which is parameterized by S, and then which we call the gamma of S is a curve And then we can find out the 4 velocity or the tangent vector to this, and we can also find the acceleration, which will be always orthogonal to the 4 velocity by taking the second differential. If the curve is geodesic, then the acceleration defined as a p, which is equal to capital dup by ds. This notation we have used to incorporate the covariant differentiation and taking the directional derivative along the tangent vector of a given curve parameterized by s. Explicitly, we can write it as a dup by ds plus gamma p qr uq ur. So this is basically taking the directional derivative in the direction of tangent vector, and that is what is the acceleration. And if acceleration is 0, then we have a geodesic motion. We are assuming our curve is geodesic, and that means we are assuming that the acceleration is 0, or this expression itself is 0. We can further express this in terms of the position of the particle or the location along the curve, and that is given by d square xp by ds square plus gamma pqr dxq by ds dxr by ds. That should not be ur here. It is not needed, and that is what we have, equal to 0 for geodesic motion. The curve satisfies the geodesic equation of motion. So this is what it says. And now we consider a family of geodesic. That means we consider a set of all geodesics around this reference geodesic and parameterize them and see how they are moving with respect to each other. So that is what is called the geodesic deviation equation. Let's consider one parameter family of geodesics, xa s rho. Here s is the arc length parameter which is along a geodesic, and the rho is a parameter which labels the different geodesics, and s is the arc length parameter. If we draw it, we have a single curve which is a geodesic which is parameterized by arc length, and we have a tangent vector which is we call the 4 velocity dxa by ds, and the acceleration is 0 for this. That is because we are already assuming it to be geodesic motion. Then we have a neighboring geodesic which is given by a parameter, arc length parameter s prime a, and a rho. Okay, rho gives you the next geodesic, and that also you can have a tangent vector dxa s prime by ds of rho. So we can parameterize entire family of geodesic using the parameter rho. By changing the rho, we get different geodesics along. So in one direction, we have a geodesic parameterized by the arc length parameter, and in the other direction, we have set of all geodesics which are parameterized by the parameter rho. By changing the parameter rho, we should be able to get different geodesics. So you can have these two families of curve given by rho is equal to constant and s is equal to constant, which is a family of surface which we are looking at. So our interest is basically consider the two neighboring geodesics. That is what is by changing rho, we can get the different geodesic at any point along the curve. We can flip from one geodesic to another geodesics by changing the parameter rho. This is a family of geodesics. So entire family of this curve given by x of s rho satisfies the geodesic condition. Note that in order to make it along the curve, we are using partial differential, but it is essentially a tangent vector along the geodesic, and this is a gamma evaluated at each point on the curve wherever the equation is evaluated, and then we have a tangent vector. This is essentially a geodesic equation which is satisfies everywhere along this two parameter family of curves. Now we consider a family of geodesic given by xa rho s. Let gamma 1 and gamma be two neighboring geodesics which are given by slightly different parameter rho. You could call them at the rho 1 and rho 2. So we have a gamma 1 curve which is given by xa is equal to s into rho, and the second curve gamma 2 is given by xa of s plus rho plus epsilon, where epsilon is a tiny quantity eventually which we want to set to 0. So we have a gamma 1 is given by xa is equal to s into rho naught, and the gamma 2 is given by xa s into rho naught plus epsilon. Now we have a tangent vector that is our along the geodesic, and that can be evaluated for each of the geodesics. And we also have different geodesics which we call the two geodesics are connected by what is called the connecting vector, which we call the eta a, which satisfies the following condition. The epsilon time eta a of s rho epsilon is equal to x of s rho plus epsilon minus x of a of s and rho. That means you take at one point and take at the neighboring point and then subtract the coordinate of these two, and that you would get epsilon times eta a. Now we can take a limit epsilon going to 0, then we get eta a is equal to dxa by d rho. That is differentiating along the parameter of rho, and that what we call is the connecting vector between the two neighboring geodesics, and that is what we are interested in, how it changes as we move along the geodesic, how this connecting vector between the two geodesics changes or accelerate between them as a function of arc length parameter s or along the geodesic. Now, of course, this is a picture, so we have a connecting vector which is already given. Let's start with the geodesic equation which we have written earlier. Entire set of family of curves which is parameterized by rho satisfies this geodesic equation, and that is what we have given. In order to avoid the confusion, we have written dou square by dou s square along geodesic or arc length parameter, so it should not create any confusion. So we have geodesic equation given by second derivative along arc length gamma taken the dot product with the tangent vector. So that is what we have, this as a tangent vector. Now let's differentiate both sides. Of course, this side is 0, so differentiate with respect to rho so that we can explicitly bring in the connecting vector. So once we differentiate and then adjust the sides properly, we have simply differentiate with respect to rho, that is differentiate this, and that is what we get, minus sign because we have taken it other side of 0, and this side we have a differential of gamma and 2 of the tangent vector. So this is the equation it should satisfy. Now we simply expand this term can be expanded by simply the product rule. The first one we have differentiation of gamma with respect to rho, and then the 2 of the tangent vector simply comes as a multiplication, and then we see that this is a symmetric tensor. That is, when we differentiate a symmetric tensor, we would simply get the twice the differential of 1. So we just keep the gamma same and differentiate the one of the tangent vector, and others remain same. Because they are symmetric, you also get the value of 2 here. You can do explicitly calculation and comment. It requires one more step in between, and this is what we have. Now we can see that we have an expression here which involves rho. We can pull it in, and then we can express in terms of connecting vector. So these are the partial differentials. We can easily flip them in any order. We know that the partial differentiation commutes, and so we can bring this in, and then we have a dxa by d rho, and that is what is gives us the connecting vector between the two geodesics or family of geodesics. So we also have a tangent vector at rho naught which is given by dxa by ds. While this gives the connecting vector, dxa by d rho gives the connecting vector, dxa by ds gives the velocity or the tangent vector. We'll start with this equation, and then we differentiate with respect to rho on both sides, and then this is what the equation which we give, which I have already showed in the previous slide. Let us try to simplify this further and see what we get. One of the easiest thing to do is to express this differentiation with respect to parameter rho, replace it by the differentiation with the coordinate differentiation. We know that using the chain rule, d by d rho of gamma can be written as dx by d rho into differentiation of the gamma. So that is the first simplification which we can do, and in addition we can pull this d rho inside, because they are all partial differentiation, they commute with each other. So pull this inside, and then we replace this with the dxa by d rho into the differentiation of gamma, and other two terms remain same. The minus sign here and here comes this minus sign, this we have made plus, so there is an overall minus sign. Let's try to further simplify this. We know that this is a connecting vector as per our definition, and that value we can substitute, and this is the velocity vector. This is a connecting vector. For every expression we can write first 2 is second derivative with respect to s, and then we have a connecting vector, so that gives this term. Then we have a differentiation of gamma, and then you have a 2 tangent vector and a 1 connecting vector. So this gives rise to this term, and the last term which has a gamma, then the tangent vector, this comes as a tangent vector, and the differentiation of the connecting vector. So this is a differentiation of a connecting vector with respect to the arc length parameter. This is a differentiation of the connecting vector along the curve or the tangent vector. So this essentially is the expression. We can now replace this differentiation by exact differentiation with the understanding that this is taken along the curve, specific curve rho naught value, and that we simply get d square eta a by ds square. That is the acceleration of a connecting vector, which is expressed in terms of the first derivative of the connection coefficient, some contraction with respect to velocity and the connecting vector itself, and then we have a gamma and for velocity and the differentiation of the connecting vector along the arc length parameter. So this is the equation which gives us the acceleration between the two neighboring geodesic. So we have a single geodesic which is represented by arc length. Along it we have a tangent vector UA, we have a rho naught at which it is evaluated. We consider the neighboring geodesic which is a rho naught plus epsilon, and that will have a connecting vector which we call the eta, and this gives us the idea how this connecting vector would be accelerated as we move along this geodesic, or as a function of s and rho naught, and this is what interests us, and this is what gives the relative acceleration between the neighboring geodesic. However, we are not done yet. Here the equation which we get is a not covariant. That means equation which we have here is not written in terms of tensor. If it is not tensor, then each time when you change the coordinate system, it would not transform in a clean manner. So we somehow have to make it in the tensor form, or which is also called make it a covariant. Once we make the covariant equation, then we would have how the connecting vector between the two geodesic accelerate as we go along the geodesic. Now we have done this exercise earlier. We had a differential operator which was not covariant. Then we played around with that to make it a covariant. Now we have a acceleration which is not covariant. That is what we have is connecting vectors whose acceleration satisfies this condition, which is not covariant. But we should not get panic. We can easily convert this. We get hint from this equation. What we have here is the ordinary differentiation, and then there is ordinary differentiation, and then these ordinary differentiation. These are all which are terms which do not transform like a tensor. So we got to replace this by something like this which is completely covariant. That is differentiation or acceleration along the curve taken with the covariant differentiation and taken the directional derivative along this. The best or simplest way of doing this is to directly evaluate this and use this expression. We know that the one of the term in this is going to be this term, and that we have it here, and express that, and then we obtain the covariant expression for this using this equation. One can always do it in many ways. This is the easiest way of what we call is a Jugaad method, where you can do it completely in terms of mathematical substitution and ignoring all the other aspect of this to make this covariant. So we got to simply adjust the few terms here and there and bring in the terms so that this is completely written in terms of this, and see if there are any terms left out which are not purely tensorial. If it is purely tensorial, then we are done with it. If it is not, then we got to do more playing around. So let's start with the acceleration of a connecting vector in a covariant manner or directional derivative. Let's give you a quick reminder of this notation. D, capital D by ds of a vector is given as ordinary differentiation of that vector with respect to arc length parameter, and then you add the gamma term so that it is becomes a tensor property. This is essentially taking the covariant differentiation and taking the dot product with respect to tangent vector or velocity vector you see. There is a muddled up indices here, so you should be having here TC and UB. Okay, one of these have to be put in, so this is wrong. Now UC is a 4 velocity of the particle, so we can express this differentiation, that we have to do it twice. That's what it get messy, but we can start with the first one. So we use the outer one, not the inner one. Outer differentiation with the explicit expression, what we get is a d by ds of exact differentiation of this term, and then we have a gamma of ars, taken the dot product with the whatever vector inside, and then taken the dot product with the 4 velocity. Now we have to expand again individual terms using this equation, these two terms that give rise to few more terms here. It leads to fairly bad equation. The first term will have 2 of the terms. So one is coming from the ordinary differentiation, gamma, connecting vector, and 4 velocity of the particle. And here also same thing, you already have one gamma here, 4 velocity taken dot product, and this differential is written in terms of the ordinary differential, gamma, and connecting vector, and the 4 velocity. So again, it is not done yet. It's a rather long calculation. First term would give rise to a lot of terms. So you have a first is a exact differentiation of this. That is what we have is a second order ordinary differentiation of connecting vector with arc length parameter. Then we have a differentiation of gamma, which is straightforward, taken the dot product with the UA. Then we have a second term, which is a differentiation of velocity vector here, that is expressed here. And then we have a fourth term, which is a differentiation of connecting vector with respect to the arc length parameter. So that is all coming from the first term itself. And the second term, which is rather straightforward now after handling the difficult expression. So we have a gamma and differentiation of the connecting vector, and then 2 gammas taken dot product with the 4 velocity and the connecting vector. So this is a messy expression, but here we have to see that we already familiar with some of the symmetries and some of the simplification happens. If you carefully look at the indices, these two terms are same, and we can simply add them up and simplify. We have exact derivative of connecting vector along arc length parameter, which is given as a ordinary differentiation of the connecting vector along the arc length parameter, then the differentiation and then all these terms which involves the gamma. Now, in order to simplify this further, we have to simplify this messy equation. Let's try it out with this term. Now, one of the interesting term here is that this is a du p by ds. That is, it is a differentiation of a tangent vector, but it's ordinary differentiation, so that is basically can be connected to the acceleration that we have du a by s, which is acceleration is 0. That means ordinary differentiation du a by ds plus gamma abc. You see again there is a jumbled up indices here, so these two need to go up, and then you can write it in the proper order. You remove this, and this has to be BC, and this has to be BC. So we can substitute this expression given here for this expression, and then we can further simplify this. So it is doesn't look much of a simplification at this stage, but however we will see that it has an interesting form. So we have all these first two terms copied straight away. The third term now get an extra gamma and a minus sign, and these two remain same here, and then the second term with the product of gamma again. So now again we see that the product of gamma is comes directly in the Riemann tensor. That means this term somehow have to be connected with the Riemann tensor. We also have a partial differentiation of gamma, so some things are missing, but that can be obtained by substituting this from our earlier equation. So let's take this expression, and we can rearrange the some of the terms here so that the equation takes the simpler form. All we have done here is that the indices have been renamed. Indices are getting offended because you are call them dummy indices, so we can call them a smart indices, and they got to readjust and change themselves using the artificial intelligence. So they have been renamed themselves to look equation more interesting or more friendly. So that is why we call them smart indices, not dummy indices anymore. So now we can substitute for this expression, and then we simplify it further. So from the previous expression, couple of slides back, we have had this expression derived for the acceleration of connecting vector, which unfortunately was not covariant. Now we have a covariant form which we can straight away substitute for this part from this expression and try to simplify and see whether the entire equation become fully covariant or not. Let's put all together, then we get this long expression. Some of these terms might go away, so we have to add two more terms which is coming from this one and this one. We see that this term and this term is exactly same with the opposite sign, so they would be going away, so we don't no longer need them. They will add up to 0, and then the rest with the four terms, these two, this and this. Let's combine all of them and write a neat expression. So what we have here is tells us that how the connecting vector between the two geodesic accelerate as we move along the geodesic, and that is expressed by this cumbersome expression. Of course, you may think, what is this? If your memory is very good, then you can see that this is exactly the expression for the Riemann tensor, which has a two partial differential of gamma and product of gamma here. So which means that the acceleration of connecting vector connecting two geodesic is expressed in terms of the Riemann tensor, the dot product between the velocity and then the connecting vector itself. So this is the expression which tells you that how the geodesics are accelerated between each other. So this equation is called the geodesic deviation equation, which tells you how the two geodesics are moving with respect to each other, and that is as you move along the geodesic. So this is directly connected to the Riemann tensor, inherent properties of the Riemannian geometry, and this is a very fundamental equation which tells that the two geodesics are accelerated if you have the curvature. So these two geodesics may be taken by two of our observers who are carefully monitoring the distance between them, and they would see that their distance would be directly proportional to Riemann tensor. If they are on the flat space time, then the connecting vector will have the value of 0. That means they will not be accelerated with respect to each other. Now we have a homework 5, only one problem. Explicitly show the relation d square eta a by ds square is equal to r b c d a u b eta c u d, where eta a is a connecting vector between the family of geodesic given by u a. The due date is 27th February 6 p.m. on the vLearn. Okay, let's continue with the geodesic deviation. We have the expression, the connecting vector between the two geodesics is accelerated in the Riemannian geometry. The acceleration is purely given by the Riemann tensor. Now, if the Riemann tensor is 0, that is a flat space-time, then the geodesics are not accelerated at all. So that means their angle between them would be preserved. If you have two parallel geodesics, then they will not meet, they will meet only at infinity. Now, on the other hand, in the Riemann space, that need not happen. The good example is on the sphere. You know that the geodesics there are the great circles, and great circles, if you take all the great circles along the theta direction, that is going to the pole, on the equator, they are all parallel to each other. You can clearly see them. And then at the pole, they all merge. So this happens because the sphere is a Riemann geometry with curvature that can be directly related to the curvature. And if curvature is 0, then the flat space-time where they would not meet at all, the parallel geodesics or straight line would not meet. On the other hand, on the sphere, they would all meet on the pole when theta is 0 or theta is pi. While on the equator, all these geodesics or straight lines are parallel to each other. Okay, let me stop here and continue in the next video.